Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brown Critic Gayatri Majumdar YouTube channel. In this series of review reading, today I'll be reading the review of the book written by the poet Aneek Chatterjee. The title of the book is Of Ashes and Persiflage. The review has been published very recently, last month, in Kitaab online journal, which is published from Singapore. The title of the book of Ashes and Persiflage, reviewed by me in Kitaab. And thanks to the editor, Namrata. Many believe that poetry is the engagement with existence, an extension of self. At the end, it makes sense of the situation, retaining the intimacy and the directness of the soul. There is no denying that poetry is one of the most powerful instruments for our survival. It is one mode of transport one takes on the long way through unknowing. Aneek Chatterjee's third poetry collection of Ashes and Persiflage explores the allure of collecting from the inside out. These poems do not merely exalt the smooth contours of pop-up words, they also explore the unmasked corners and unknown edges of the life. The poet believes that the time is the best judge for any work. He further adds, it decides what is good or bad. However, a poet feels happy and inspired when readers love his or her work. Some of his poems are reworked and beautifully crafted. It is just a reset that's sloping towards boredom, and the poet turns it back to wonder and examine as if the way life does revise itself. His poetry is neither arduously demonstrative nor forced and manufactured. As so often in his work, the narrative is drawn to lightness with a sharp twist at the end. Aneek's language is restlessly creative, definite in uncovering imaginings that linger in your memory. He injects shocks to the metaphor, twists words at will, and brings all kinds of color drops, muttering up here emerging from the places of paradox. What is all the more remarkable is that the poet has the seamless composure, not too loud, not equivocal in his voice. There is no escaping the bleakness encircles the surrounds, yet the poet is always faithful to his words, which becomes a form of finding, netting the letters to describe it. Let's listen to a poem.
Afternoon. The April afternoon melted like sugar cubes in our coffee cups. A new color has adorned the sky, difficult to paint in memorabilia. Thought we essayed color to the coffee table. Sugar cubes only mocked us from the drowsy pot this afternoon.
This book has a conversion style at times, and we feel we are in the company of an appealing, sharp-witted person. The poet never brings enforced fodder for metaphor. His poems are relatively easy to read out, while very difficult to get to the bottom of it. See this poem.
Barren page. I stitch words for a ballad and decorate these on my page. When I open the page, it's only a tabula rasa. Where are my chosen words? Where is my favorite ballad? In utter disgust, I look up. The old ceiling laughs with fugitive words. I command all to jump to my page. In persiflage, the ceiling vanishes into the blue, and I sit dark in a corner.
It's a beautiful work of integration that not only refuses distinction between abstract and free speech, but provides that all too rare human necessity, the sense that life has meaning. Stanzaic but not exactly metrical, his verse looks like free speech, but it engages an altogether different world where I float and finally descend down on the skin of narrow bylanes and avenues. He says just enough to make the value of a poem clear without too many spikes, and he never tried too long to make his points. His use of persiflage as a recurring motif is pitilessly real, encapsulating this startlingly beautiful book. The stylistic elements in verses, the simplicity and the felicity of expression with the perfect syntax and rhythm make outstanding poems with consummate ease. Let's listen to poems.
Of Ashes and Persiflage. The iron curtain separates death on both sides, separates the corpse and ashes and fire. Life watches from the eastern side of the iron rail, with the dead body waiting to be pushed to the pyre on the west. The corpse waiting to have a date with ashes, after some heated time with fire. Relatives wait, and friends, and sons and daughters, sisters and brothers. Melancholy waits, and silent tear. Cheer looks at the corpse for one last time, and status, belongings, wealth, and ego watch in persiflage. The fire is waiting, time is waiting, and the ultimate ash to embrace all hankers, ladder, perfume, and vanity, you and me.
The following poem bristles with energy, reflecting how the poem is written. There is an artistic combination of beauty and inelegance, almost in entity. A rambling, larkin style poem is threaded through the searing narrative. This is an amazing poem of true interrelation that joins the pixels of those tiny moments of truth. Rarely he trots out well-worn words and veers into cultural critique to such an extent that his observations lose their freshness particularly. Boiling rice was talking to the pavement of angry pavement, the poet.
Pavement. Boiling rice was talking to the pavement, angry. A broken piece of mirror looked at the tattered clothes and the adjacent tree. Naked, non-appointed guard. Buses waited for a while, but left hurriedly for their destinations. A lady sprayed irresistible aroma, went away. I left my nascent poem orphan, like the child waiting for boiling rice.
Or every time I try to enter, the door is indifferent. Every time I try to exit, the door is different. The poem is agony.
Agony. Every time I try to enter, the door is indifferent. Every time I try to exit, the door is different.
Yet the poet has found a new language of realization that he makes his own. He allows the improvisation and propels the unmistakable style that his writing draws on to good effect. Even though the collection is full of sharp images, reading his work makes one consider the extent to which poetry is not only about truth, but about the importance of being, at times, consistently vivid. The pessimism of the modern poet is very poignant and heartrending. It is even sharper than the pessimism of Hardy in earlier times. What is all the more remarkable is the rhythm and the flow pattern of the insightful and moving poems that are rich in imagery and telling grace.
Why? Let's assume there is a change. Let's assume change always happens. Let's assume all flowers turn into fruits. And all the fruits give birth to new saplings. Only the drain on the roadside loves the death of myriad flowers. Let's assume dream changes every night, but a morbid morning says goodbye.
He has that ineffable quality that accompanies poetry we understand, and it makes all the sense in the world. It is all there, the soul, the energy, also the idiosyncrasy that lures the reader into it. Even though Auden once wrote, poetry makes nothing happen, there is no denying that poetry is one of the most powerful instruments for our survival. It is one mode of transport one takes on the long way through unknowing. Aneek has crossed the gentle poise of the earlier two collections of poems, Seaside Myopia and Unborn Poems and Yellow Prison, and explored the intricacy of the new poetic space. Here is a poet who brings deep personal insight into the grinding despair and misery, often writing with lively, ironic flair.
Hide and seek. I play hide and seek with you, myself. Sometimes I do murmur lost songs, favorite poems, surreal images. And when I wake up and land in my swanky office, a surreal painting adorns the wooden wall. I have kept a few books of poem in the rack to woo the visitor. Now I start playing hide and seek with you, music, poetry, and me.
Needless to mention, the poet's work at times is restin, witty, and bracingly uncompromising. Most refreshingly, he does not attempt the requisite inspirational movement at the end of a poem in order to balance the crispness, the economy of words. On the contrary, his poems are smart, often funny, and self-mocking, intricate and probing, making a pun here and there. Aneek Chatterjee's of Ashes and Persiflage is a book of intense and incisive poems searching for answers in turbulence of dream and desire. A major poetic voice of our time, he brings the multi-layered account of the lives and bridge time with grief and the joy without losing its way. It is a book to hold close, a charm that transforms the incongruities of life into something very uplifting, the attempt to keep hold of wonder. The poet very much wants to take the reader with him through the maze of mind's layer, emphasizing not procedure but ideas. The cover page is very, very artistic. This is the sort of books to read now, a steadying influence on your mind and a must for your bookshelf. Thank you.
Well, hello there. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video on our Brown Critic channel. We'd really appreciate and really love it if you watched all our other videos and liked them. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Stay well, take care of yourself, and until the next time, bye for now.